What's up, it's Katie, and I just finished watching the Season 7 premiere of Game of Thrones. This episode spent a lot of time setting up all of the season for us so that we kind of know what the characters' plans are and what they're going to be doing. We pretty much saw all of our main power players in this episode. Episode 1s usually do that. They cover all of the characters, and there's usually nothing too eventful that happens in an episode 1. But I gotta say, that opening sequence was amazing! The very opening scene, even before the Game of Thrones credits, we have Walder Frey addressing his family, all the people that helped kill the Starks at the Red Wedding, and he's giving this speech, and you kind of know from the beginning, you're like, I wouldn't drink the wine if I were you, especially because he didn't drink the wine. I was like, oh man, I know exactly what this is. I know what it is, and I cannot wait. Oh, that speech in the beginning was just so great. Leave one wolf alive and the sheep are never safe. Great line, I loved that. And then of course, they all are poisoned and it's Arya. That opening scene was a lot of fun. I mean, I knew it was Arya. I was kind of expecting it the second I saw Walder Frey, but it was so satisfying to watch her kill them all, and the North remembers. It's so great. And then we get to see Bran for a hot second as he sees the Night's King and the army, but Bran has made it to the wall and they let him in. I'm kind of hoping there's going to be a Bran, Jon, Sansa reunion this season. I don't know. I'm hoping it happens because I want all the Starks to kind of come together this season, but we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. But it was nice that Bran was in it because I totally thought that they were gonna save him and not put him in this first episode, so I'm happy that they did. Then of course we go on over to Winterfell with Jon and Sansa, and he's basically telling all of them that they need to find dragon glass. That's the only thing that's gonna work against, you know, the White Walkers. And Sansa, oh Sansa, she's like, actually, I don't know if Sansa just wanted to insert herself in the situation or, you know, just kind of be respected by Jon or something, or she actually believed that, you know, these families should be stripped of their homes. But yeah, I was kind of with Jon on that one. You know, you can't really blame your dad for his sins, you know, when you're the kid. So I was happy with Jon's decision. I just feel like I just know that I'm going to be so annoyed by the Sansa-Jon, like, butting of heads this season. Of course, toward the end of that scene, we have Sansa and Jon have this really sweet moment together to kind of make up for the earlier part, but I don't know. I just think that this season, if Jon and Sansa are constantly butting heads and fighting for who's right, like, I mean, yeah, that's a typical sibling thing, but at the same time, I'm gonna be super annoyed the entire time, just like rolling my eyes like, stop it, work together. You guys could be dead right now and you're not. You're Starks. Gotta work together. But I really did enjoy the Jon Sansa scene for this episode. I'm just afraid that if it's too much of that this season, I'm gonna be freaking out. I'm gonna be like, stop it! Enough of you, Sansa, enough of you! But you know, I don't know. Maybe they're gonna have them butt heads so that she can really do something big in helping Jon. I mean, obviously, she got Littlefinger to help them win the Battle of the Bastards, which was a huge, crucial moment. She should have told Jon, but at the same time, it worked out, all right? Jon survived, so, and Ramsay's dead, so that's a good thing. But I'm kind of hoping this time she tells him of her plans if she's going to do something to help, but at the same time, will Jon listen? Of course, Cersei sends a raven to Winterfell to be like, bend the knee or you're all gonna die. And then we cut over to Cersei and Jaime, and Cersei's on this beautiful map that we saw in all the trailers, and Jaime's basically telling her, we have no allies. We're screwed. And Cersei's like, no, Jaime, I got a plan. Then you see Euron Greyjoy's fleet of ships coming to King's Landing. A lot of us kind of predicted that he would offer his ships for Cersei's hand in marriage, which of course happened, and of course she declined, and he left saying that he was going to present Cersei with a gift. Now what I think the gift is, I think he's going to attack Theon and Yara's ships, because we did see shots of them being attacked from ships in the trailers, so I'm kind of thinking that's going to be him, especially because he talked all about killing Greyjoys and how he loves to do it and blah blah blah. I think that's happening, and that's going to be his gift to Cersei. Hopefully he fails, but who knows? So from there we go on over to Sam. I have to say, you know, Sam's storyline is interesting, but did we need kind of an obnoxious montage of what he's been doing the last few months? Not really. It could have been time spent elsewhere, maybe more with Jon or Dany or anyone else, but the whole point was to show us that he has been there for months, passage of time, and he needs to get into the restricted section to figure out more about Dragonglass and more about how to defeat the White Walkers, because that's why he's there. So of course he steals the keys, sneaks in, gets a book, and finds a map of Dragonstone. And Stannis had told him once that there was tons of dragonglass underneath Dragonstone, and he didn't believe it, and he's like, I should tell Jon, send the Raven. I mean, they're just basically setting that up for Jon to have a reason to go meet Daenerys, which I'm really excited about, because I can totally tell that next week's episode he's going to pitch this idea of, let's go meet Daenerys. We have to go to Dragonstone to get her to team up with us so we can get Dragonglass and be able to defeat the White Walkers and the Night's King and all of that. And I have a feeling his men are going to be like, no, not a Targaryen. We shall not do that. I mean, he's going to meet Daenerys this season. We just know it's going to happen. We don't know how soon in the season, but I'm ready for it. I'm ready. Oh yeah, and by the way, we found where Jorah went, meeting Sam and asking where Daenerys is. I mean, that's just so funny that the very first thing he's like, has the Dragon Queen been here? And he's like, not that I know of. Creeper. I love me some Jorah Mormont, but he needs to chill. So Arya's scene where she meets Ed Sheeran, and I'm just gonna call it the Ed Sheeran scene because I at first rolled my eyes and I was like, I knew Ed Sheeran was gonna be in this season. I didn't know what sort of part he was going to have, but that scene was actually really cute. How Arya kind of meets some young people and gets a glimpse at, I don't know, like a moment of fun. I wouldn't say happiness. She kind of could relax for a moment with people sort of close to her age, which I think is really important for Arya, just to kind of get those glimpses of what a childhood could have been for her, and how her childhood was basically just like ripped away from her and she was like thrown into survival mode. So it was really kind of cute to see her in this scene sharing a rabbit with these boys and telling them that she was off to King's Landing to kill the queen. I loved it. I thought it was really cute. So then we have the Hound with Beric Dondarrion. You guys know I love me some Beric Dondarrion. And it was very interesting. The Hound's character has like done a complete 180 and he's just a little bit different now. He's not so, I mean, he's still mean and angry all the time, but I feel like he's got more compassion these days, and we totally saw that in this episode. He wanted to know how Beric was able to bring people back from the dead, and then they told him to look into the flames, and he actually saw something, which was really cool, because he's such a skeptic. At first I thought he was going to be BSing the entire thing and start laughing at them, because I kind of expected that from his character. But I'm just hoping that the Hound can play a huge role in saving the Seven Kingdoms. I really like him, and I love Beric. I think Beric Dondarrion is going to play a huge part against the White Walkers, so I'm really excited to see if we're going to see that this season or if we have to wait till next season. Either way, I'm ready. So then the episode ends very fittingly with Dany arriving to Dragonstone, of course, because the episode was called Dragonstone, and it was gorgeous, I just have to say. Like, the cinematography and the location was just absolutely stunning, and watching her walk up, it felt like long moments of her coming home, which was really great. I mean, this is something she had been waiting for most of her life, was to be able to go home to the place that she always remembered, and to see the door and to see the throne room. It was just really special. It was really cool to see. And then of course the very last line of the episode, she's there with the map and the little like chess pieces, and she says, "Shall we begin?" Yes, we shall begin! Let's begin, Game of Thrones, let's begin! This episode was really great though. It got us back into the swing of things, set up everything for this season, and you know, while this episode didn't have a lot of action or anything too exciting, still, we got lots of character moments that are setting up for the entire season, and we have such a short season. It's gonna be so sad, but guys, I'm so pumped for Game of Thrones, and I'm just so ready to see what's gonna happen this season, because we know Game of Thrones likes to throw twists and turns at us. We know that. So hopefully it's nothing too shocking It's always shocking. What am I saying? Well guys, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of the Season 7 Game of Thrones premiere Dragonstone. It's gonna fly by. I just know this entire season is just going to be gone, and then we're gonna only have one season left, and then we all panic, and then what do we do with the rest of our lives? I don't know. Welcome to my recap review of Game of Thrones Season 7 Episode 2 Stormborn. This was awesome. I'm not gonna lie, this episode was super fun, and I so wasn't expecting some of the things to happen, so let's just get right into it. If you're not caught up on Game of Thrones, get out of here. I don't want to spoil you, okay? Go watch Game of Thrones. Alright, so our opening scene starts off with Dany, Tyrion, and Varys, and basically she's grilling him the entire time, like, well, you and your little birds, I don't know if I can trust you. I love that he basically pledges allegiance to her. I mean, he's done it sort of before for other people, but not in this way. And I just love that Dany was smart enough to say, don't conspire behind my back. Come tell me that I'm a bad leader. Come tell me and help me fix it. Don't just try to have me killed. So she basically pardons Varys, and it was a great scene. I loved that. And then, of course, the moment we've been waiting for, we get Melisandre and Daenerys to finally meet. I've been really looking forward to this. They showed the exclusive clip at Comic-Con where Melisandre is meeting Daenerys, and I just didn't realize that it was going to be in this episode. I was like, oh, that'll probably happen later in the season, but it happened this episode, and I was so excited. I was like, yes! We don't have to wait. That's so awesome. I kind of missed Melisandre there for a little bit, and I kind of like her back into the swing of things, but now she's finally like on the right track. I mean, I don't know how much credit you can give the Lord of Light when it comes to Melisandre, because she has been all over the place. Like poor Stannis Baratheon. I mean, apparently he had something to do with this, but I'm kind of curious if we're ever gonna find out why she thought he was the one. Maybe because he led her to Jon Snow, and then Jon Snow banished her, and then she found Daenerys, and now Daenerys, she's literally going to be the reason that Jon and Daenerys meet, which is amazing. She convinces Daenerys and Tyrion to send a raven to Winterfell and convince Jon Snow to meet her, pledge allegiance, and then team up, and it's awesome. It's finally happening. Alright, so then we cut to the next scene where it's Jon and Sansa and Davos reading the letter from Daenerys. Man, that raven travels fast. And they're a little questionable about it, but you know, Tyrion, I love the relationship that Tyrion has had with all of these different characters throughout the entire series. I just think his character is so smart. Like, just his small interactions with Jon Snow from season 1 to, you know, going with him to the Wall and spending time there, he's just so smart. He really is. He knows how to get people to trust him, even though he's a Lannister, and even though maybe you shouldn't trust him sometimes. It was actually really exciting to see Sansa and Jon, who both hate the Lannisters, be like, all right, maybe we can trust him. Then, of course, later, Jon's trying to convince his men that I need to go to Dragonstone to team up with Daenerys so we can get the dragon glass. She also has dragons. Hello, dragons. And of course, the men are against it. You know, the Mad King, obviously, is not a good track record for Daenerys to have to follow. But Sansa, like, I get it. I understand why, you know, she thinks the way that she thinks. I mean, history does repeat itself. She already lost her entire family, pretty much, and you know, she doesn't want to lose Jon, and I think you could tell in that scene that she really didn't want to. But then, what terrifies me about Sansa was Jon. All he had to do is be like, don't worry, I'm leaving Winterfell to you, and she's like, oh, yeah, go on, go ahead, yeah, okay, bye, yeah, we'll be great here without you. Yeah, forget everything I just said. Terrifying. Because if Sansa ends up on the Iron Throne and it's just like a whole repeat of everything that's already happened because of Cersei, and like she turns into a Cersei. I've said this from the beginning. Someone go back through my Game of Thrones videos and find where I say Sansa's going to be the next Cersei, because I've said it before and I think it's going to come true. I think she's actually going to end up being like that, which is going to be absolutely terrifying. But like Cersei, and for those of you who've read the books, you're a product of your circumstances and you take what you can get, and maybe that's Sansa's path. I don't know. But that was really funny to me when she's just like, oh, me? Okay. I was actually laughing during that scene, but not because I thought it was stupid, just because I thought it was great. So yay, Jon's going to meet Dany. So excited for that. So then over in King's Landing, we have Cersei and Jaime, and they're just trying to grasp onto as many alliances as they possibly can, because, you know, there's they're few and far between these days over in King's Landing, but she is trying to rally Lord Tarly, and seems like it's pretty much happening. I mean, Jaime talked with Lord Tarly, and that was like a good conversation. I'm like, God, I hate him, but hey, whatever. So I'm really interested in finding out how he's going to play a role in helping Cersei. We'll see. I kind of don't want him to, because he needs to redeem himself, but I just don't know if he's going to be able to do that before he dies. And Cersei's trying to find a way to kill the dragons. Seems like they've figured out a plan. I've said it from the beginning, I think one of the dragons is gonna die. I really hope it's not Drogon, because, you know, we already had to lose Khal Drogo. Like, I don't want to lose Drogon, so maybe one of the other dragons. And I've always said I think Jon is going to awaken an ice dragon, fire and ice, 3 heads of the dragon. Like, I think there'll still be 3. I think one of Daenerys' dragons is going down this season, and I don't want it to happen, and I don't want to see it happen. Just getting you guys prepared, okay? I don't need tears. There's still gonna be tears, but, you know, at least if we start talking about it, it won't hurt as much. It'll still hurt a lot. So then a really cool scene is we have Sam meeting Jorah and basically trying to fix his grayscale, which was awful to watch. Like, that scene was amazingly done, but so mean. How many of you out there were like, no, when they cut from Jorah to the food? Oh my gosh, like, I was yelling at my TV. I was like, no, oh, Game of Thrones. That was mean. That was just mean. But I'm really hoping that this technique that Sam is doing cures Jorah. I mean, he is one of my favorite characters, and his loyalty, and like, he's just such a good guy. So I mean, I feel like he has a big role to play in this show still, so I don't really think that he should die or will die, but I really hope he can make it back to Dany and maybe help them win. I don't know, we'll see. That scene was intense though. So then we have the scene where it's basically everyone plotting against Cersei. I loved watching all of these powerful women coming together. Any scene with Lady Olenna in it, and I'm like, sign me up. She's hilarious. I love that Dany was finally able to kind of bring everyone together. We got the Greyjoys, we got all the ladies from Dorne, we've got the Tyrells, some of them. And I just think that was such a cool scene, plotting against Cersei. And I just found it very interesting that Lady Olenna gives Dany the warning to never trust clever men. Because this whole time I'm like, no, trust him, he kind of knows what he's doing. I'm talking about Tyrion. You know, trust Tyrion, he's so smart. And for the show to throw in something like that leads me to believe, what if, it like puts questions in my head, which, you know, maybe that's the reason why they did it in the first place. But I'm like, oh man, what if he can't be trusted? But we know he can. It's Tyrion, come on. I don't know. It was just like an interesting choice, and I was really kind of confused by it. I totally understand what she meant by it, but I don't know. It was just an interesting scene. You're a dragon, be a dragon. It was really cool. Oh my gosh, I loved the scene with Arya meeting Hot Pie and sitting there, and she's just like scarfing food and having this conversation with him. And he still calls her Ari, which is so cute. I love it. But she finally finds out that Jon is king in the north and is back at Winterfell and makes the decision to go to Winterfell, which was so great. I was like, you gotta go. Like, we have to reunite the Starks. You guys can't be separated anymore. None of you are allowed to die anymore. Just come together, work as a family and a team. I just want to see Arya fighting alongside Jon. I think that would just be the best, the coolest thing, especially because she still has Needle, and that was so special to her, and Jon is so special to her that it would just be really cool to see, so I hope that that happens. Okay guys, so the next Arya scene, I legitimately had tears in my eyes, and it's probably because I've read the books. When the wolf pack came, I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I started like yelling at my TV. I was like, this is it. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Nymeria, Nymeria. That was just insane. And then she said, that isn't you. And I was like, what? I was so confused by it. Was it not Nymeria? Someone tell me in the comments. Was it not Nymeria? Was she just saying that to herself? Like, you kind of have to let the child in you go, like you grew up really fast and you wanted that to be, I don't know what it was. I was so confused because she has to reunite with Nymeria. So if that was Nymeria, maybe the direwolf will come back and help her later. This was really cool for me because there was actually a scene in the book where Arya hears a wolf pack and she can tell that the leader of this wolf pack is bigger, much bigger and more like a direwolf compared to the rest of the wolves, and she thinks in her head, I wonder if that's Nymeria. So they kind of represented that scene from the book in tonight's episode, and for me it just was amazing. So yeah, I wonder if they're getting that back in everyone's head so Nymeria can come back. But I was bummed. I was like, go with her, go, what are you doing, go. but she didn't go, so I don't know if it was Nymeria or not. But man, I'm hoping we get Nymeria back this season. That would be so cool. All right, so after this scene, and I have tears in my eyes over Nymeria, which is so silly, but it just was such a sweet scene. I was like, how is there still 10-15 minutes left in the episode? What's going to happen? Oh, just an epic nautical battle. I mean, from the trailers, we knew we were going to be getting this awesome looking nautical battle. And I think we all predicted it. Euron Greyjoy coming to take out Yara and Theon's fleet of ships and also eliminating the sand snakes. No! They didn't even get to do anything this season! Yeah, no clue what happened to Yara. So who knows if she's alive or not. Theon, complete coward from beginning to end. I don't think he's ever going to change, nor do I even care anymore. Like, I just want him to go away. Yara's the strong one that I actually like, and she could be a good queen of the Iron Islands, but, man, stupid Euron Greyjoy. I hate that guy. I feel like all the men in the Greyjoys were just cowards, and they are. And Euron's gonna have it coming to him later this season, hopefully, because I'm so sick of him. He's gonna, like, parade back to King's Landing like, look what I did, Cersei, marry me. Ugh. But stupid Theon, like, I hope you drown out there in the middle of the ocean. There's nowhere for you to go. But of course, next week he'll probably just, oh, oops, I found the shore and I'm alive. But I gotta say, that battle was pretty awesome. I mean, all of the little fire, like, little bits of fire floating through the air during all of the fighting and the talking, like, it was just super epic. And all the ships on fire, and parts of the water on fire, and everyone's dying. I mean, it was such a cool scene. Last week we didn't have any action, so it was really cool that we had this little bit of action right at the end. But this is so exciting because finally we're getting Jon Snow to meet Daenerys. Hopefully it happens next week. I don't know, the preview for next week made it seem like they're gonna meet, but I don't know. They could be hiding it from us until later, or maybe it will happen next week. I don't know. But I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited for Arya to make it back to Winterfell. I wonder if she's gonna get back to Winterfell before Jon's back and have to just like be alone with Sansa, and that could be really awkward and weird. I am just so pumped for this season. So far, we're only 2 episodes in, and we have to be so grateful for them and take them all in as much as we can because we're not getting that many this season, and it sucks. Ugh, it's gonna be over before we know it, but this episode was really fun. Today we are talking Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 3, The Queen's Justice. So much happened in this episode, and I feel like I say that every week, but I'm serious. So much happened in this episode that I don't even know where to start. Whew, all right, let's just start at the beginning. Let's do it. So like we all predicted, this episode opens with Jon coming to Dragonstone to meet Daenerys, and of course on the beach he is met by Tyrion Lannister as well as Missandei and ushered into the Dragonstone throne room, which was an interesting scene. Now they couldn't let us have Jon and Daenerys meet immediately. They had to kind of wait a few minutes. So before that we kind of had this nice little scene between Varys and Melisandre, and they're kind of both, I don't know, they have like a lot of similarities as characters, so it was kind of nice to see a little scene from them. Basically him being like, don't ever come back, and she's like, well listen, we're both gonna be back here because trust me, we're meant to be here. And that was a very interesting scene between the two of them. But God, I just want to jump to Jon and Dany meeting for the first time, and I don't know what I was ever expecting it to be, but it was so cold. Like, it was such a cold scene of like, bend the knee, I will not bend the knee, but bend the knee, I shall not bend the knee. I mean, this scene was probably the most that we could have ever expected from this scene. Like, I feel like we all could have predicted it. It was very, I don't know, nothing really surprised me from it. Jon has to stick with his values and his beliefs, and that's why we all love Jon. Dany has to go with her beliefs and what she thinks, and that's why we love Dany. And it's so funny because I think as the audience we're sitting there knowing these characters so well, but them having met for the first time were like, just trust each other. You guys are both gonna be on the Iron Throne anyway, you're related, like let's just get this over with. Can someone just tell Jon that he's a Targaryen and then they'll be buddies and they'll just like make it work? No, of course not. It can never be that easy in the world of Thrones because, gosh, just like watching them butt heads and like argue with each other like I'm the better one. No, I'm the better one. So then last week, as I predicted, Theon was freaking rescued and it made me so mad. I mean, I kind of wish that he like washed up on a deserted island somewhere, but when he got rescued, I was like, man, that guy's got 9 lives. Theon's a cat, okay? He survives everything out of every single person that shouldn't live. I mean, think about all the amazing characters and all the amazing people who have died on Game of Thrones, yet Theon continues to live. How many of you out there feel the exact same way? You're like, gosh, Theon, why do you keep surviving? A lot of you last week told me that he was a coward because of his circumstances, being captured by Ramsay Bolton. Well, you kind of have to look at Sansa and be like, okay, Sansa was the same sort of way. She may not have been physically tortured like Theon was tortured, but in this episode, she proved to everyone that she could still be a leader, and she took the horrible things that had happened to her and turn them into being a good leader. And I'm sorry, Theon was always a coward. Theon was Robb Stark's best friend. Ned Stark took Theon in as a prisoner of war, but treated him well. He lived in Winterfell like he was a person of Winterfell. He was welcomed into the family and befriended Robb Stark and then betrayed him. I'm sorry, but I have no sympathy for Theon Greyjoy. He betrayed his best friend for his father's approval and didn't even get that at the end. No. He's a coward to the end. And what's funny is that he keeps living. It's crazy. It's like, gosh, the cowards live, but these like people that want to actually make good change to the world, like Ned Stark and Robb, though very naive, wanted to just make a better world, but still, they all gotta go, and Theon survives. Ugh. Till next episode. Gosh, I hope Theon dies eventually. So the next scene that we had was so exciting. It was actually a very good scene. Euron Greyjoy is bringing Yara and Ilaria Sand and her daughter to Cersei as the prize, basically, and Cersei's out for revenge. She's killing her daughter the exact same way that Ilaria killed Myrcella, and you know what? You really can't hate Cersei in that moment. It was such a great scene for all of the actors involved. Like, they must have been floored to read the script and see that scene, because that scene was really, really incredible. I mean, Ilaria Sand, I don't ever think that she should have killed Myrcella. I don't think that that was a fair revenge on Cersei. It was really sad that she killed Myrcella. And what's so interesting is that Cersei has literally picked apart Daenerys' alliances in one episode. All of them. Every single one of Daenerys' alliances in Westeros has been picked apart completely and destroyed. The Greyjoys, the Sands, and then of course Lady Olenna, which I'll get to. What comes next is Tyrion and Jon having the conversation, Jon thinking he's a prisoner and he can't return to help his northern people. Like, come on, Danny, you have to realize that he's telling the truth, but they don't know each other. And that was one of my favorite scenes, was that we finally get Tyrion being funny and being the comic relief a little bit of the show. He's always so witty and always had the best things to say, and we finally get that back in this episode. And it's been a while, all right? He's got some amazing lines, but this episode, there were like 4 or 5 that I wrote down that I was like, yes! Oh my gosh, that's a great Tyrion line. Yes, that's amazing. And soon we'll all be wearing t-shirts. Like, I drink and I know things. But that's what I love about Tyrion, is the fact that he is actually so intelligent, but also so hilarious at the exact same time. So the scene with him and Jon just being like, I need dragonglass, and Tyrion telling him that he needs to get to know Daenerys. He needs to ask her people what they think of her, because they're really not that different. And it's so true. As audience members, we're like, yes, you're right, Tyrion. I feel like Tyrion's just an audience member. He watches Game of Thrones each week and he's like, listen up. I got the answers for you. So then Jon and Dany have this scene where Dany is allowing him to mine the dragon glass to make weapons, and it's never clear if she actually believes him or not, but she did say something that I found very interesting, which came into play later. Did you guys realize that she said, "You've lost 2 brothers"? Meaning Robb and Rickon, because those are the 2 that were made public. But apparently Ramsay Bolton already killed Bran and Rickon. Does Jon know that Bran is alive out there? How would Dany know that Bran is alive out there? I feel like the word on the street in Westeros would be all of the Stark children are dead except for Sansa and Jon. Maybe some people know about Arya, but the fact that she said 2 and not 3 brothers dying, because she was referring to her own brothers and naming them after the dragons, that was so interesting to me, because I was like, wait a sec. No, because the talk of the town, they think all of the brothers are dead. Like, I'm pretty sure Jon thought that Bran was dead, but then I'm mixing up book knowledge with TV knowledge, because in the book Sam sees Bran and knows that Bran is alive, but at the same time I'm not exactly sure where that ends and the show begins. So I was really curious if you guys caught that too, and does Jon know that Bran is alive? Is that something that the show has covered? Totally mixing up book knowledge, but that was something interesting that I noticed Dany say to him. And then of course, this was amazing! We go to Winterfell, and Sansa's with Littlefinger, and they have this like horrible, oh god, I hate Littlefinger, and they have this like nasty, yeah, you're Sansa, you gotta do all this stuff, and she's like, yeah, whatever. And then Bran comes to Winterfell, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know we'd be getting a Stark reunion and a Targaryen reunion all in one episode. Instead of the Queen's Justice, it should have just been family reunion, because so many families got to see each other either for the first time or again, and that was amazing. I love that Bran and Sansa have reunited. Now where's Arya? Like, let's go. And I literally, at that moment where Bran showed up at the gates, I was like, oh snap! I was not expecting it to be Bran at all, so they really got me on that one, and I was really excited about it. But then Sansa and Bran have a creep-tastic little scene at the werewood, and Bran is like saying some things that he probably shouldn't be saying to his sister. I almost said not in an inappropriate way, but it kind of is a little inappropriate, but he was trying to prove the fact that he could see like what has happened to people, like future and past, and he was trying to explain the three-eyed raven to her, which she didn't quite understand. Yeah, his eyes were so creepy. That whole scene, I was so creeped out. I was like, Bran, this is the creepiest you've ever been. Like, couldn't you just tell your sister, hi, I missed you? And they could have had like a nice little like family conversation. But no, Bran's gotta be creepy, so that scene was very interesting. Alright, so one of my very favorite scenes actually happened after that, where we find out that Sam has actually cured Jorah. That was amazing, and it happened so fast. I literally thought it might be months or years that we'd be waiting to kind of see if Jorah would, you know, survive, and maybe he'd like run to Daenerys' rescue at the last second, but no, he's cured, he's being released, he can go, he can be a free man, and I really liked the Jorah-Sam relationship, so I thought that was really cool. But that was a really nice scene, and I'm hoping Jorah can make it back to Dany to really be able to help her. Alright, now we're getting to the end of the episode where things get so crazy. First of all, I feel like they totally rushed the battle with the Unsullied versus Casterly Rock. It was like kind of montagey, and it made me really sad, but they did that so that they can bait and switch us to realize that the Lannister army went to Highgarden, and that is so brilliant. Cersei, I don't know how she knows all of this. I'm starting to think there's a double agent in Daenerys's, you know, people, Tyrion or Varys or someone is relaying messages to Cersei, because I don't know how they could possibly know all of her allies. It's kind of crazy. The Unsullied easily took Casterly Rock, and Grey Worm even knew that this was too easy. Where's the rest of the army? And the rest of the Lannister army, led by Jaime Lannister, ended up going to Highgarden to take out the remaining army of the Tyrells and Lady Olenna. And I loved that scene in the end with Jaime and Lady Olenna, where she basically admits, yes, I killed Joffrey. He was a bad seed, and that was a great scene. I loved it. But at the same time, all of these powerful people are being killed off, and it makes me so sad because I loved Ilaria Sand. I loved the Greyjoy alliance, kinda. I loved Lady Olenna's alliance to Daenerys, and they all had blood out for Cersei, and it's so interesting to me if, in the end, Cersei's demise has nothing to do with her actions, and maybe it's just the Night King coming in and just like tearing King's Landing apart. I don't know. But all of Dany's alliances from the last 2 episodes have been completely wiped out. And now all she has is Jon Snow. Cersei is a smart one, and it's really scary. So I'm really curious to see where that's going to be going the rest of the season. Of course, the preview for next week gave us nothing. Literally gave us nothing. But we do have trailers that show a dragon battle versus Jaime Lannister's army. So I don't know what's going to be happening or what's coming next. I honestly think that Bran might have something to do with the Night King. I mean, I know he can see things, but what if he is the Night King? And what if he has literally played a part in all of this from the beginning of time, just resurrected or something? Everyone had said that maybe he was the one to cause the Mad King to actually go mad. That is a great theory at this point, because obviously Bran seems like he's lost it. So I wonder what that's going to play into all of this. I mean, Dany obviously wants to take out Cersei for the Iron Throne, but she really needs to realize that that's probably not your biggest threat right now. So curious to see where that's gonna go this season. So much happened in this episode. We didn't even get any Arya. So I'm hoping that there's an Arya reunion eventually. Gosh, this season is literally up in the air. I have no clue where it's gonna go, but this episode was really intense. There was so much that happened. I don't even know what's to come. There's so many people that I love, but if you love them too much, they end up dying. So I feel like at this point I should just not tell the audience out there who I like because they'll end up dead. Oh my gosh, that episode was amazing. I wish I could just skip to the end so we could talk about the end, but all right, we're gonna get there. I will contain myself for the moment, but today we are talking Game of Thrones, Season 7, Episode 4, The Spoils of War. Alright, so the episode opens up and we have Jaime with Bronn. He's given him his payment, and they're bringing all of this gold back to King's Landing so that Cersei can pay out the Iron Bank. We then cut over to Cersei, and he's like, oh, you do pay your debts. Okay, well, when we get our money that is headed our way, we will, we'll invest in your cause. You know, you're gonna need some funds, because of course now that they're getting paid, they're like, yeah, sure, yeah, we'll help you, sure. So while that's going on, we have Bran and Littlefinger have a little scene together where Littlefinger gives Bran the Valyrian steel dagger that almost killed him back in Season 1. So it's really interesting that they're bringing that dagger specifically into play. I'm not really sure why, but it's gotta have some sort of purpose coming up here soon. And then Mira comes in and says she has to go, and then Bran's like, okay, bye, and she's like, wait a sec, I just risked my life, my brother died for you, Hodor died for you, like what the heck, Bran? What the heck? Can you have a little bit of appreciation for everything that I've done for you? And he's just like, bye. Bran's got no chill, all right? And also I miss Hodor, all right? Bran is in like this wheelchair to get around, and I'm like, no, I miss Hodor. So my first favorite shot in this episode was Arya overlooking Winterfell. She's like on top of this snow-crusted mountain, like looking down upon Winterfell, and it's just such an incredible shot. Then she proceeds to go to Winterfell and gets completely berated by the guards at the door, like, haha, yeah, sure, you're Arya Stark. She's like, no, really, I am. You should maybe listen to me, otherwise bad things could happen to you. They let her in, she sneaks away. Typical Arya. Was happy she did that. I was sick of that. I was like, come on. Like, Bran showed up. Did no one question the fact that it was Bran? But of course Arya shows up, and now it's like, oh, yeah, sure. I don't know. So then we have Sansa and Arya, which was such a good scene because they have never had a good relationship their whole lives. I mean, Sansa was the princess and Arya wanted to be one of the guys, and it was really, really nice to see them reuniting. It's like, oh, the Starks are together, it's crazy. I was honestly shocked that Arya went to Winterfell in this episode because that's 2 back-to-back episodes of a Stark reunion. I'm starting to think the next two might be Stark deaths, and that's making me really nervous because all the Starks are reunited. I mean, Jon isn't back yet to see Arya, but hopefully that happens because this is getting crazy. I don't want any more Starks to die, all right? Maybe that's our reward for being Game of Thrones fans. You know, you had to lose all your favorite Starks in the beginning of the series, and then at the end, they all will live, right? Yeah, we can hope, right? And then, of course, we go back to the weirwood with Bran, Sansa, and Arya, and I don't know about you guys, but after last week's Bran-Sansa interaction at the weirwood, I was like, oh no, we're gonna get creepy Bran again, which he eased up on the creepy and was a little less creepy this time, so that was good. But he gave the dagger, the Valyrian steel dagger, to Arya, which is great. And I think that's for a reason, because I literally think she's gonna kill Cersei with it. That is my prediction. Since it was Tyrion's dagger, I think she's going to kill Cersei with that dagger, because the Cersei prophecy is that she'd be betrayed by her own brother, and she thinks it's Tyrion, but what would be really cool is if it's Arya. Arya's killing Cersei because of all the horrible things Cersei's done, but using Tyrion's dagger, so technically it's kind of a mixture of both. I don't know, I think that'd be really cool, and I hope it happens, because that would be awesome. Okay, so then we have this really cool scene that I absolutely loved with Jon and Dany. He's showing her the caves with all of the dragon glass, and he shows her the drawings in the cave that the Children of the Forest had done like many years ago, and he basically explained to her, look, the men, real men and Children of the Forest came together to fight a common enemy, the White Walkers. Like, this is real. Believe me, Dany, believe me. I gotta say, there's only one thing I'm not liking about this whole thing, and that's how much this show is trying to ship Dany with Jon. And I feel like all of us out there are like, no. So while they're in there, Dany basically says that she believes him and she will fight with him to save the North. Jon Snow's gotta bend the knee. Gosh, why does this have to be this running gag throughout the whole season? Bend the knee, bend the knee, bend the knee. I mean, if one of the episodes coming up is called Bend the Knee, then that's for sure what's gonna be happening in that episode, because Dany's like, I'll help you, bend the knee, and Jon's like, I'm stubborn, grr. But he's got a point. The North isn't gonna follow her right off the bat. They kind of have to work together, at least for a little bit, which led into the next scene where Tyrion tells Dany about what has happened to all of her alliances, and it was so interesting that she was like, Tyrion, your plans don't work. Jon, what would you do? And that was a really cool scene, because he fed her some truths that she probably didn't really want to hear, but she needed to hear. So that was really good. All right, I had so many favorite scenes in this episode, but this next scene has to be one of my favorites. Brienne and Arya. All right, we've been waiting for this. I think we've all known that eventually Brienne and Arya have to have some sort of relationship, and Arya asks Brienne to train her, and Brienne's like, oh, okay, sure, yeah, I'll go easy on ya. Oh no. Arya's got some skills, and that was such a cool fight sequence. I absolutely loved it, and I also love that Sansa and Littlefinger were up there watching. I'm not sure what Sansa was thinking. I kind of got the vibe that Sansa was like, well, of course this is Arya now. This is the Arya I've always known, and she hasn't changed. And I also wonder if Sansa had a little bit of, not jealousy, but just like wishing that maybe she was able to take care of herself in that way. But yeah, I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about what was going through Sansa's mind in that moment. You think she was proud, or do you think she was like, ugh, my sister's not changed at all, therefore I don't care? I don't know. It was such an interesting scene, and I loved Brienne and Arya's fight sequence. It was awesome. I could watch that every week and I'd be happy. That was awesome. All right, let's just jump to the end of the episode. We had a couple little scenes in between, but they're not as epic as this last 10 minutes of the episode. I literally looked at the clock and was like, what are they gonna do with the last 10 minutes? And I feel like I've been saying that all season long. Like, okay, what's gonna happen in the last 10 minutes? And then the last 10 minutes end up being epic battles, which is amazing. Like, this is not the Game of Thrones we're really used to, but it seems like they are packing each episode with some epic stuff, and this episode was incredible. We have Jaime and Bronn, and they're trying to make it over to King's Landing. Like, half of them made it across, and they're trying to get the latter half, and, you know, they make comments like, well, if we're attacked, then, you know, whatever. But When I heard the rumbling, I was like, oh, I cannot wait for what's to come. We see the Dothraki army coming over the hills, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could watch the Dothraki fight in every single episode and never get sick of it. The Dothraki are incredible and I love watching them. And it's just so crazy to think of the Dothraki are now in Westeros, and it's just such a cool thing. So then of course, Jaime's like, yeah, we're gonna stand and fight, let's fight them. And in comes Dany riding on Drogon. Giant dragon, headed right for them. Dracarys, fire everywhere. That was so epic. I was losing my mind, but it gets more epic, and I didn't even know that it could, but it did. And it was just one wave after another. You had the Dothraki just crashing into the Lannister army. You had Dany flying by on her dragon, just lighting the place up. Then we had Bronn, who got knocked off his horse and was running from a Dothraki, which, whew, that was so cool. I'm not gonna lie, that was really cool. So then it was Bronn's job to take down Drogon, and of course the first one misses, second one gets Drogon like kind of in the shoulder area. It was heartbreaking to watch because I just know a dragon is gonna die this season, and I'm not thinking that it's Drogon though. I think it's gonna be a different one eventually. Maybe not even this season, but maybe next season. Because I'm still thinking that while Jon is mining that dragon glass, he's also gonna find maybe a dragon egg or something and awaken an ice dragon. Just saying, it could happen. This is set up so perfectly for us. Even though the ice dragons should be under Winterfell, whatever, doesn't matter. Jon and a dragon, I'm all about it, let's do it. But the final moments of this episode were so epic. We have Dany on Drogon, they're spiraling down, and it was so funny to me because Drogon, you think is really injured, and meanwhile Drogon's just like, don't mess with me. Do not mess with me. He touches down and he just fire everywhere, which was awesome. I loved the moment where Tyrion is watching everything and he sees Jaime and he's like, flee! Flee! Of course Jaime's not gonna flee. He's gonna go right toward Daenerys and try to kill her, which was a dumb move, but because it's a TV show, and we all love Jaime, some of us really love Jaime, Bronn, last second, knocks Jaime off his horse, saves him from Drogon just lighting him up completely, and they fall into water, and it looks like Jaime is drowning in water. And then next week we'll be like, oh, you survived, of course, yes. He will survive, I'm sure. But I'm actually kind of hoping that Jaime and Daenerys can have a scene together next week, because we saw in the preview for next week that she's going to tell the rest of the surviving people, which probably isn't going to be that many, like bend the knee or die. And I think most of them are going to bend the knee because, I mean, they don't want to die. And Dany's an okay leader to follow at this moment. So I'm just curious if Jaime is going to have anything to do with meeting Dany and seeing that maybe she's the right queen to get behind and not his sister. But I loved this episode. I loved the Stark reunion. We almost have all of them together, just waiting on Jon. Where's Dany gonna go? Is she gonna go north or is she gonna go to King's Landing? I have no clue, but the White Walkers are coming and it's going to be real bad if they don't figure it out. I loved that battle sequence at the end. In fact, I even went back and watched it in slow motion to watch Jaime's face of panic as soon as Drogon turns his face to like light him up. Oh my god. Seriously, if you guys have it on your DVR, go back, rewind it, and play it in slow motion. You can watch his face. And then Dany just standing there all stoically like, yeah, my dragon's got my back. Oh, it was awesome. It was so epic. I loved it. Let's talk Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 5, Eastwatch. All right, this episode is totally gearing up for some epic things coming next week. We're going north of the wall, man. We are going north of the wall, and that is going to be next week, and I have a feeling that's going to be epic. I also believe that next week's episode is the longest episode of the whole season. I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that it's one of the longest episodes in the season. So it could be a crazy episode. But let's start at the beginning of this week's episode, where we have Bronn and Jaime, and Bronn pulls Jaime out of the water, and guess what? They're not dead! There were a few of you last week that thought Jaime was dead and were really mad that that was how he was going to exit the show. No, come on, it's Jaime. He can't die this season. I mean, he could die. I'm not saying that he's, you know, gonna stick around for a while, but I knew he wasn't dead. And I also love that they didn't even make you wait around for it. It was like, nope, he's alive. So from there, we go over to Daenerys and Tyrion. Tyrion's basically, you know, looking at the battlefield. I think he's looking for Jaime, but I think he knows Jaime might still be alive, but in that moment, I feel like he's looking for Jaime's body. And this is where Daenerys says, bend the knee or die. And of course, Randall Tarly. I mean, come on. He is ridiculous. He has always been so stubborn, and he didn't even want to follow Cersei and Jaime in the first place, and then he's gonna be all stubborn with Daenerys? I mean, that makes no sense. Oh, and guess who also inherited the stubborn gene? Dickon Tarly, of course. Both of them were like, we're not gonna bend the knee to you. We have a queen already. So Daenerys was like, all right, if you're not gonna bend the knee, I'm not gonna keep any prisoners. Goodbye. And we got to see Drogon obliterate them completely. They died a very fiery death, and it was amazing. And I love that Tyrion said, oh, you're gonna destroy the whole family line, Daenerys. And she's like, whatever, whatever. But hey, that makes Sam head of his house right now. I mean, I know he's like still a member of the Night's Watch, but come on, this is great. Sam will get to be head of his house eventually, hopefully, because he's probably gonna go team up with Jon. Okay, we're gonna get there, but I loved it. We had a lot of little scenes in this episode. A lot of them were just tiny little plot points to move us forward. Jorah comes back to Dany. Bran walks into the Raven and sees the army of the dead. And then Winterfell sends a letter, and Sam is trying to convince all of them, like, no guys, this is real. You guys need to do something about it. And I just love that finally Sam had that moment, because I was kind of sick of him, you know, trying to be a maester. Like, I get it. I know that's what he's always wanted to do, but I feel like he finally kind of manned up in that moment and was like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna sit around. I'm gonna go help Jon. He needs my help. In fact, the entire planet needs my help, because I'm gonna take these restricted books and I'm getting out of here with my family, and that's exactly what he did. So I was so proud of Sam, because his family died. I guess he still doesn't know about his dad and brother, but who cares? Who cares? Listen, Sam's gonna go help Jon, and it's gonna be awesome. Hopefully he took the right books, who knows? But there's gotta be something in there that can help Jon eventually. There were a lot of ravens in this episode delivering messages back and forth, but I'm really happy that Jon finds out that Bran and Arya are alive, because that was my biggest concern. Are they gonna kill off Bran or Arya or Jon? I don't know. Like, I just want Jon to be able to reunite with them and know that they're alive, so I'm really happy that we kind of got to see that moment of him realizing that Bran and Arya were alive and have reunited with Sansa in Winterfell. We had a nice little scene with Sansa and Arya's basically calling Sansa out for liking nice things. And I love that she's kind of telling Sansa that she's making wrong choices, but I don't know. I was kind of looking at that scene like, well, Sansa's got a little bit of a point, but Arya's got a point that Sansa didn't exactly stand up for Jon in the way that maybe Arya would have seen fit. I don't know, they've both learned so much over the course of their journey. I feel like both of them had little bits of being right, and I'm kind of hoping that they can come together and kind of work together, because right now they're sort of butting heads. So hopefully that's gonna get resolved. Okay, also Cersei tells Jaime that she's pregnant with his child. I mean, come on. How many of you guys out there believe that? There's no way. I mean, it's entirely possible, but I think she is totally manipulating him so that he will believe in her again, and now he's got something to fight for with her, but I think she is totally lying about that. All right, we have to talk about one of my favorite scenes, and that is with Jon when Dany comes back to Dragonstone on Drogon, and Jon actually touches Drogon. Drogon lets him, you know, touch him, and I'm just saying, the dragon has 3 heads, just saying, just saying. I mean, we all know Jon is a Targaryen, and it was just interesting how they portrayed that scene, because it almost looked like Drogon sniffed Jon Snow before allowing him to be touched by him, I guess. So I don't know. It was interesting. It was like, ooh, does Drogon know that Jon is a Targaryen? That's some awesome foreshadowing right there. Maybe we're gonna see Jon on a dragon this season. That would just be so amazing. I loved that scene. It was about time. And it was awesome. So then they decide that the next move is to prove to Cersei and as well as Daenerys that the White Walkers exist, so they're gonna go get one, and Tyrion and Davos are gonna sneak into King's Landing, and that was actually one of my favorite scenes, with Tyrion surprising Jaime with the help of Bronn. Of course, that was just such a great scene. And then we have Davos, and I don't know about you guys, but I saw it coming. I was like, oh man, that's gonna be Gendry, just you watch. And of course, there was Gendry. And even Davos had a line about, oh, you're not still rowing out there. Oh my gosh. I lost it. I don't know about you guys, but that was so funny. And I found it hilarious that Gendry was just like, sure, yeah, I'll go with you. Okay, let's go. Davos was like, wow, I thought that'd be a lot harder. Nope. Gendry was out of there. He was out of there, and I loved it. I loved their relationship. I love everything about this episode with Gendry was so much fun. And then they went and they met Jon Snow, and Gendry wasn't supposed to say whose son he was, but of course he's like, hey Jon, guess what? I'm Robert Baratheon's, bastard, and you're a bastard. Let's be buddies. I loved it. I loved everything about it. They could be such a great duo. Oh my gosh. This team that is being built right now is so exciting. So before I get to the end, we have Arya basically stalking Littlefinger because he is receiving messages, and he is always shady AF. Seriously, he is the shadiest person ever, and Arya is following him around, but it kind of made me mad. So she sneaks into his room, finds the scroll, reads it, and then leaves, and of course Littlefinger's like, I knew you were there the whole time. Like, come on! Can't Arya have like some higher ground here? Why does Littlefinger have to know everything? Because it's Littlefinger. Of course he has to know everything. Arya needs to like go to Sansa and they need to like figure it out together. Arya did make a comment about beheading and Sansa saying that, you know, you don't get people to respect you and work together by beheading them, but I'm kind of hoping that at the end of this season she beheads Littlefinger, and it's kind of like this whole full circle of how she's like eating her words and listening to Arya. I just think that would be so amazing. All right, let's get to the end. We have like the dream team going up against the White Walkers. I hope no one from this dream team dies, by the way, because I'd be super pissed off. We have Jon, we have Davos, we have the Hound, we have Beric Dondarrion, we have Tormund, we have Jorah, we have Gendry. We have so many amazing fighters and amazing characters now all together and having to work together. Next week's episode is going to be insane, mostly because we've not seen a lot of these characters interact with each other. I mean, some of them have, but not all of them in one spot, and I just think that is so crazy. The fact that Jon is working with Davos and Jorah, I'm just so happy that Jorah's there, because I've always thought that he would play such a big part in helping Jon defeat the White Walkers, because that's kind of his dad's role, and he's stepping in to help Daenerys, so it kind of all works out. I don't know. This is just gonna be so crazy. I'm so excited for next week's episode. I love that this episode completely set us up for next week. Like, we are getting this team of fighters coming together, and it's just gonna be so much fun. So I'm hoping next week there aren't any casualties. They all survive. They end up taking a White Walker to King's Landing and to show Daenerys, and then who knows? Where is it gonna go from here? I have no clue. This is kind of crazy, but I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was fun. I thought they really set up everything really well, and I'm just so excited to see what next week is going to bring us, and hopefully it's gonna be a really long episode, and I know that we get Beric Dondarrion's fire sword. I'm just so excited for that. But I wanna know what you guys thought of tonight's episode, and also what are your predictions for next week? Next week only, not the whole season, not the whole series, just next week. Do you think our dream team north of the wall is going to be successful in their mission? I'm thinking they will be. I'm just hoping there's no casualties. You can't kill Gendry, we just got him back. He rode for like so long. You can't kill him off. He's got tired arms, come on. And we also need Gendry and Arya to reunite in Winterfell, so Gendry has to survive because I want him to meet up with Arya. Oh my gosh, what? We're gonna talk about Game of Thrones, Season 7, Episode 6, Beyond the Wall. So much happened. I don't even know where to begin with this episode. All right, so the episode starts off with our dream team of fighters out beyond the wall. We got Jon, we have Tormund, we have Jorah, we have the Hound, there's Beric Dondarrion. There's so many of these guys. Oh, can't forget Gendry. There's some witty banter back and forth. We learned that Beric Dondarrion has died 6 times. They know about Jon being resurrected, and they talk about the Lord of Light. There's a lot of talking happening at the beginning of this episode, because we all know that toward the end, it's gonna get insane. So that's pretty much how the beginning of this episode was. And I feel like they were purposely keeping it sort of mellow because things got so crazy. So while that was happening beyond the wall, we had Arya and Sansa. And Arya, whew, I have no idea what has gotten into Arya, all right? I get it. Sansa made a mistake. She's not the same person that she was. I don't know what they're doing with this. I don't understand what is happening here, and it's kind of crazy because it's pinning Sansa and Arya against each other. Arya is like blackmailing Sansa and threatening her. Littlefinger tells Arya to get Brienne in on this, but then Sansa sends Brienne to King's Landing, which was odd. I really don't understand why it was so malicious, but Sansa, I don't know. I don't get it. I'm so excited to see where that storyline's gonna go, because it kind of came out of nowhere and it's so unnecessary. Like it just is, because I always wanted the Starks to reunite and fight together and stand together, and I feel like Sansa and Arya should have had some growing up happening in this time, and they shouldn't be fighting over who went through the worst things and what their motives are right now. I don't even know if Arya thinks Sansa's gonna betray Jon. I don't think Sansa will. Stuff is gonna go down next week. That scene was just so crazy with Arya walking towards Sansa with the dagger that Bran gave her. It was just so interesting. I don't know if she's just trying to scare Sansa or if she's trying to really actually threaten her or hurt her. I'm not exactly sure what Arya's motives are here. Maybe just to teach her a lesson. Maybe Arya is just blinded by vengeance about Ned dying still. I don't know, but this is crazy, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where that goes. So then we have a fun scene with Dany and Tyrion, and he's basically trying to give her a lesson. You have a temper. You sort of need to, you know, handle your temper a little bit, especially if we're going to meet with Cersei. And of course, Dany's one to quickly judge Tyrion and think that he's taking Cersei's side, because Dany is stubborn and she's got a little bit of a temper, but I don't think it's like any of her ancestors. But one thing that was very, very interesting was the fact that they brought up succession, where Tyrion's basically like, you said you can't have kids, so we need to be thinking about when you are wearing the crown, who's going to be your successor? And Dany was not having it. She was like, nope, I'm not gonna talk about this. We'll talk about this when the crown is on my head. And Tyrion had some very valid points, which almost leads me to believe, this is kind of prediction time right now, but it's kind of making me think that Dany is going to win the crown, but I don't think she's gonna make it in the long run. I think they're setting it up for her to win, but then sacrifice herself for like the final blow or something, and then Jon will be the one that actually becomes king. And in that moment, they kind of made it seem like she had never thought about a successor before until that moment. So I'm wondering if that's gonna come back around in the Game of Thrones universe, and maybe next season, you know, we're gonna have this huge battle. All along of my Game of Thrones reading history and watching the show, I never thought that Dany wouldn't make it to the end, because I've always loved her character. I always thought she'd be the one sitting on the throne. She has dragons and she's awesome and I love her, and I never thought for an instant that she could die, but I'm now starting to think Dany may not make it, which is crazy. All right, so we go back beyond the wall and they're attacked by a zombie bear, which was awesome and unexpected, but gosh, just super telling of what was to come, because it was crazy. Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin with that. So the group finds a small little army of the dead, and they found out that if you kill the White Walkers, the ones that they have turned die. And so they were able to capture one. He lets out this horrible scream. In comes this army. They're all running. The ice breaks. They're surrounded. I was like, okay, well, Dany's gonna have to come. Jon was smart and sent Gendry off to go send a raven to Daenerys. Totally thought Gendry was gonna die in that moment. I was like, oh, he's never, ever gonna make it back to the wall, let alone a raven getting to Daenerys in time. I mean, how do these people get around so fast in Westeros? Everything's gotta be so small and so close together for Gendry to make it to the wall, to then send a raven to Daenerys, and then for her to get it, and then to get on Drogon, and then go, and then Tyrion's like, no, stay, and she's like, no, I'm not gonna stay. Oh man, that just seems like they'd be dead by the time that all happened, but hey. So it was such a cool moment when the dead started walking across one by one, because they realized, oh, if it's one of us, our weight won't break the ice. And it felt so much like Battle of the Bastards, where they're surrounded. We even had that moment with Jon where he's like almost giving up hope. He doesn't know if he can do it, and what's gonna happen, they're all gonna die, like that's what it felt like. It felt very much like Battle of the Bastards, the feeling of no hope left, and of course saved by Daenerys with her dragons swooping down, destroying everyone. That was actually a really fun scene to watch the dragons against the army of the dead, because we have not seen that yet. It was so strange to have Daenerys there, because it's like all of these things that we've seen separately, but now they're together with different characters, and you're like, what? Daenerys on a dragon, what, and her dragons, what are they doing there? But it was awesome and sad. Gosh, you guys, I was like tearing up. I mean, I've been saying this from the beginning. You could go back to my predictions video from last year, but I have always said a dragon would die, and I'm just really sad that we had to watch it. It was heartbreaking. Not gonna lie, I have always thought that an ice dragon would play a part in this, but I totally thought when that dragon went under the ice, I was like, ice dragon, Jon will ride the ice dragon, Jon will resurrect the ice dragon, and then he will fly away. And that's how I thought he was gonna get out of there, because Daenerys left with all of them and he's alone, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. This is everything that I've always wanted. Jon to awaken an ice dragon. He's already been resurrected, whatever. He'll resurrect this dragon and then fly out on him. I was so mad when it didn't happen. I was like jumping on the couch like, oh my gosh, is this gonna be that moment? Didn't happen. Jon was saved by Benjen Stark. Crazy. We got Benjen back, and then we lost Benjen. Sorry, Benjen. But hey, Jon's alive. Just really wanted Jon to ride on a dragon out of there and surprise everyone when he's like, oh hey, look what I did. But I guess maybe that will still come later. Maybe next season, I don't know. But that's what I thought. When that dragon went under the ice, I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. This is perfect. Because I always thought he would awaken a dragon under Winterfell, but... So Jon barely makes it back to the wall. And of course, Dany and Jon have this nice, sweet little moment. They are really pushing that ship hard on us. And I don't know how I feel about it, because, I don't know. I'm not on the Dany Jon train right now, and he calls her Dany, which was hilarious. I was like, where did he get that? Did Jorah say it at some point? How did he know to call her Dany? I think that was just like a drastic difference between calling her queen. Jon finally bends the knee. She's like, what? But what about your people? And he's like, you're my people. And she's like, you're my people. We'll work together. Yay. We knew that was coming. Just took all season to get there, but at least it's there. They're gonna work together. And Dany did say something, that the dragons are the only children that she would ever have, and she was going to go kill the Night's King. So another mention of children. I know she's always called the dragons her children, but just this whole succession thing and talking about her children and her now realizing that they're the only children she'll ever have kind of makes it like a suicide mission in my mind, like for her at least. I don't know. Maybe we're not there yet. Maybe it'll not happen at all. But I'm just saying that's kind of the vibe I got from this episode. Also, for being dead for so long, the Night's King has some wicked aim. Gotta say, that was just not even cool. Wasn't cool. The weird thing is that did they even show? I can't even remember what dragon went down. I think it was Viserion that died, but I'm not positive. So if you happen to see the color of the dragon or happen to know, please let me know in the comments. I think it was Viserion. It would kind of make sense because Viserys was like maybe the last person to call her Dany or whatever. I don't know. She made a mention of him. And maybe that's because she lost Viserion. Can't remember. I was too much out of my mind, just like, oh my gosh, no, don't. So then we have this final scene where, of course, I knew this was gonna happen. I was like, if Jon is not riding out on that dragon, someone else is going to be, and I'm terrified. When the army of the dead had the chains, I was like, oh no, this is the worst. No, they can't have a dragon. But then my optimistic mind goes, ice dragon, maybe Jon will be able to convert the ice dragon back to a normal dragon. I don't know. Listen, I can hope and dream and hope. That's all I got. I just, it's awful. This is awful because I just always thought a dragon would die, and now it's part of the dead, the army of the dead, and he's gonna have a dragon now, and it's just gonna be insane. This episode was insane. I I don't even know what else to say about it because my brain is still trying to I gotta go watch it again because I feel like half the time I was just tripping out. I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. And I gotta go back and look at more details about everything. And if we thought tonight's episode was crazy, did you guys see the preview for next week? I don't like the looks of that at all. Not even a little bit. I mean, the finale of last year was Cersei blowing up the entire place. So no, I'm terrified for next week. All of our favorite people are gonna be in one spot and Cersei's also gonna be there. This isn't gonna be good. This isn't gonna be good, especially if it's a finale episode. They're not gonna give us a finale where they're all talking nicely. Someone's not coming out of there alive. I don't know who it's gonna be, but this is gonna be really terrifying. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna be. Next week is gonna be so insane. We have Sansa on some sort of crazy mission now. I don't know what she's up to because her thing with Arya and then Littlefinger, we do know that she hasn't said the line from the trailer yet, which is the lone wolf dies but the pack survives. Is she gonna go try to kill Arya? What? That would be insane, right? She can't do, I mean, could she do that? No, there's no way. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. This is the first time I'm speechless about Game of Thrones because that episode just messed my brain up. I want to hear from you guys. What did you think of this episode? Was there anything in it that shocked you? Were you as sad as I was to watch poor little dragon die? And I didn't see Rhaegal at all. So I'm not sure where he went, if he survived, I don't know. Next week's episode looks insane. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you freaking out? Are you speechless just like I am? Because I don't even know how to process this. This is insane. Next week is going to be crazy. Ugh, this is not gonna be good. What's up guys, it's Katie and the Game of Thrones season 7 finale just ended. Oh my gosh, guys, I was so stressed out during this entire episode. Honestly, I think this is the first time in Game of Thrones history we didn't have anything that was a huge shocker. So let's get started. So at the beginning, everyone's setting up to meet each other and I was so nervous for this meeting. It opens with the Unsullied. We get the Dothraki running in and they look amazing and they're terrifying. We have Jaime setting up and having Tyrion and Jon and the Hound walking through King's Landing. This, it just was so ominous. I was terrified the entire time. We literally had characters reminiscing about the past. I loved the moment with Brienne and the Hound as she's saying, I was protecting Arya, she's alive, she's in Winterfell. Hound's like, yeah, cool, I was keeping her alive too, don't worry about it, I wasn't trying to kill her. They kind of had a meeting of the minds there, which was awesome. We had Bronn and Tyrion have a little dialogue back and forth, and the entire time I was like, everything's going too well. Everything's a little too happy. Something's going to happen. It has to happen. I don't trust this show. I love it. They all enter the dragon pit and it was just such a cool location and cool place for everybody to meet some of them for the first time. And you know, we had that moment between Hound and the Mountain, which was awesome because I think the Hound had been waiting a long time to tell his brother that, and that was just amazing. I love how Dany just is, you know, casually late to this meeting and Cersei's like, where is she? And she comes just flying in on her dragon. I mean, I was expecting that, but it was just so hilarious how it happened and watching it all. So then they tell Cersei that they want a truce because their real enemy is the Night King and the army of the dead, which is marching straight for them. And then they show her the dead guy, and Euron Greyjoy is like, peace, I'm out of there. And Cersei's terrified, of course. Everyone is like, whoa, what is this? This is insane. And Cersei's like, sure, yeah, I'll help you, but Jon Snow, I'm gonna need your alliance and your word and all of that. And he's like, no, sorry, I'm not gonna do that. She gets all huffy and puffy and leaves. We get Tyrion, who's like, no, I'm gonna go talk to my sister. This is actually one of my favorite scenes in the episode, was when Tyrion got to talk to Cersei. Again, I was sitting at the edge of my seat like, please don't kill him, please don't kill him, please don't kill him. I love that moment where he's like, give the word and have me killed, and she doesn't, which was so interesting because of later, we'll get there, but he pours himself some wine, he pours her wine, she's pregnant, he finds out she's pregnant. Originally I thought she was lying to Jaime to keep him around, but I guess she's actually pregnant, which is what? So then Tyrion comes walking back into the dragon pit. Cersei follows behind. He's not dead, which was awesome. And she agrees to fight alongside them and go north. And, you know, I was like, this is a little too easy. This was a little too easy for Cersei. I don't know if I'm buying it. Seriously, I was like, whew. I don't know. For me, I was sitting there going, this seems too easy. Also, I was expecting the worst. Also a theme of the episode. Which leads us to the next scene where we have Sansa and Littlefinger, and he said, I always think about the worst thing and what they could possibly want that would be the worst, or what they would do, and he's basically pinning her against Arya, which after last week's episode, I was like, there's no way Arya's gonna kill Sansa. There's no way Sansa's gonna kill Arya. They have to be plotting something involving Littlefinger, and I had a feeling that that was going to be something that was going to happen in this episode. Whew, and it did! I mean, a lot of us knew it was coming, and knew that Littlefinger had to, you know, get out of there. Oh man, it was even more satisfying to watch than I had ever imagined, to be honest. I was like, whew! They bring in Arya, you know, you get that tiny little split second of a moment like, well, what if I'm wrong? What if they're not plotting against Littlefinger? What if they do kill Arya? Like, my brain was all over the place, and I was like, no, calm down, brain, calm down. Don't worry. And Sansa gives that look over to Littlefinger. Oh, it was just such an amazing moment for us Game of Thrones fans. It's like, finally, you little snake, you get what's coming to you. And Arya, it was awesome. It was just such a cool moment, and it was awesome for Sansa to make a decision like that. I love that she said the line, I'm a slow learner, but I learn. It was really cool to watch like all of the ways he's been manipulating her over the past years or however long in this Game of Thrones time, definitely seasons for us as watching it, and it was just really cool to see that kind of come full circle. And it was really him the whole time. He's the one that's betraying everyone because he wants to rip them apart. And that was such a great scene. I loved it. I loved when he was begging for his life. It was just great. It was a great scene. So then we go back to King's Landing where we have a scene between Cersei and Jaime. Jaime is like, okay, yeah, we're gonna go to the north. We're gonna plan this battle strategy. We're gonna fight alongside Daenerys and Jon Snow. And Cersei's like, oh, no, we're not. And Jaime's like, what? And after all these years, how could he be so stupid? It's like, of course she's not going to do this. Are you kidding me? The look on his face is just like, come on, Jaime, you have to know that your sister is a monster. Pregnant or not, she is a monster, and she is going to destroy everyone. But she's so stupid. She's really the stupid one. At least Jaime was trying to be honorable, and I think having watched Jon Snow be so honorable in that moment of saying, no, I'm not gonna fight for two queens, I've pledged myself to Daenerys, I think at that moment Jaime was finally kind of like, oh, we need to not lie anymore. We kind of have to fight together. We have to, like, no one's gonna be alive anymore. And we get the same line from Jaime. Give the order, you know, the same thing that Tyrion said, like, give the word and I will be dead in front of you. And she shakes her head. It was amazing. And he's like, I don't believe you. And he storms off and he leaves King's Landing. And I'm hoping that he's gonna go to Dragonstone or Winterfell and meet up with Daenerys and Jon and fight alongside them, because Cersei has lost it. Like, she's lost it previously, but she has for sure lost it. And she's lost Jaime, and she has no one. How could anyone even fight for her still? I don't understand, but she is not on board with this plan. She wants the army of the dead to take out the north, have them deal with it on their own, and then they'll deal with whatever's left over, which this ain't gonna be good for her. Not at all. But this was also something that I predicted, that Jaime in this episode would finally realize his sister's true colors after all this time and switch sides. I said that, I think I said it last week. I definitely said it in one of my prediction videos, and I'm so happy it happened. It was really great for me to watch and be like, oh, finally, come on, Jaime, you can do more. You're gonna do more. Let's hope. And then, as Jaime is leaving King's Landing, it starts snowing, which we've never seen in King's Landing before. They all live like they're in Southern California, and it's snowing now, and winter is officially here. Oh gosh. It's terrifying. So the next scene, which I found so hilarious, Sam comes to Winterfell, meets up with Bran, and he tells Sam, someone needs to tell Jon Snow that he's not a bastard and he's actually the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. Like, I love how casually he's just like, oh yeah, by the way, this is him, and Sam's like, oh yeah, I was transcribing this thing and they actually got married, so he's not a bastard, he's not a sand, he's actually the rightful heir, which to me was funny in some aspect because us fans have been saying this for years and years and years, but to have it said on the show so casually had me laughing. And not to mention they cut away to Dany and Jon having relations, and I just thought that was really funny. Oh, I can't wait to make my predictions video for next season, which you probably will be getting later on this week because I got some ideas that are gonna be really fun. So then we get this nice little scene with Arya and Sansa about how they need to come together, and they reminisce about their father who said the famous line, "The lone wolf dies but the pack survives." My shirt came just in time for this episode. I'm really happy about it. Which was a nice moment between Sansa and Arya. Finally, it's like, gosh, you know, the tension. And then finally we're getting some like pleasantries between the two of them, so that was really nice. So cut to the wall. Yep, we got Tormund, we got Beric Dondarrion on the wall. Out comes the army of the dead, and I was just waiting for it. I was like, oh snap. And then you hear the dragon, you see the dragon, and then you see the dragon take down the wall. And this is something that we all knew would happen at some point. I totally thought that it was going to happen in this finale, but watching it come down and seeing them march through really just gives off that oh no vibe. It's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is happening and we're here and that the show's gonna end, and then I go into a dark place. But guys, we are getting to the end, and that's the craziest thing. I mean, this episode, I was expecting someone huge to die, I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking that someone huge was going to die, and of course the Littlefinger death is a big death, but I thought someone else really big was going to die. I also forgot to mention Theon, who's finally standing up and wanting to save Yara, and that was a really nice moment between him and Jon, where Jon was like, you know, I can't forgive you for everything, I forgive you for some things, but you'll always be a Greyjoy and a Stark. And I think Theon really needed to hear that to finally come to terms with who he is, because he's always struggled with that, and that was just a nice moment. It was really nice to see Theon fighting for something after all this time, so I'm hoping that next season we get like a awesome Theon, his redemption, I guess. But this episode was crazy, and I was expecting like shocks and twists and turns, and I was actually just really happy that I'm not crying right now or yelling at you guys or yelling at anybody, because it actually was a good episode that wasn't sad, and we're moving along. Like, it's going to end and we're not gonna get Game of Thrones for like 2 years, and that's awful. And I'm so sad about it, but guys, at least this episode really is paving the way to the finale, like the series finale. It's going to be over and it's going to be really sad, and oh my gosh, next season is going to be insane. It's going to be even more insane than this season, and this season was insane. But it was so fun watching it and so fun recapping them every week. I really appreciate you guys watching, especially those of you who have watched from the beginning of all of my recaps and reviews from this season. And I want to know from you guys what your predictions are for next season. Let me know in the comments. I'm going to make a predictions video, and I will definitely bring your predictions into my video, so leave them in the comments below, and I will talk about them in my next video, which hopefully will go up this week, because I got some predictions for season 8. Oh gosh, I can't believe it's ending. This is crazy. But leave your predictions in the comments below. Please click right here to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my videos. I make a lot of Game of Thrones videos, and you can check those out right here. And I'll see you guys later on this week for my predictions video for season 8. Gosh, we're gonna have to wait for so long. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.